Hey, good morning. Welcome to Hobby Evolution, episode 659. Is there a weird, maybe it's the angle. How's the kind of looks weird. My screen looks weird. The color seems to be off. There we go. There we go. Uncle Rich, good morning. Good morning. Happy Sunday. Rich already hit the like button, so don't let him down. My camera seems to be at a slight angle. That didn't do it. I think that made it worse. So, good morning. Welcome to Hobby Evolution. Episode 659, reviewing the Madison Card Show. It was a ton of fun. Honestly, I went into yesterday's Madison Card Show. Thanks, John. I appreciate that. I went into yesterday's show a little nervous. I don't know. I went into it. I don't want to say like down in the dumps, but just kind of I don't know. I had a weird mindset, I think, going into yesterday's card show, even though I was going to get to see Zach and Porter. I was going to get to see Victor, all the people that are customers to the show, all of my dealers. But I think I was just in this weird mindset. And it could be because it's the end of summer. It's like almost September. We're 3 days away. I didn't realize this, Friday was the anniversary of my dad's passing. He passed away in 2016, year the Cubs won the World Series. Didn't get to see it. He was on his deathbed and said, "I'm going to fight through this. I want to see the Cubs win a World Series." One of the last things I said to my dad was the Cubs won. And that might have been the last acknowledgement, before he, would eventually pass away. That's a rough start to the show, but I just kind of want to give a background of maybe that's, like, it wasn't top of mind. Like, I wasn't thinking about that, but I'm sure it was like an underlying, like, this was the day, this was the time. So maybe that put me in an off mindset. And Friday morning, like, remember Friday morning when I was live and I was kind of depressing with that story I told? Maybe that was why. Maybe I was reflective because even though it wasn't like I didn't think about it until, I saw my mom post something on Facebook with some memories, but that could explain it. But I went in Saturday morning, like, it was almost like, what's going to go wrong? And that could be just where my mindset was, just being a little pessimistic. And guess what? The show was flipping awesome. I had an awesome time. We had no reported thefts, which is good. We had a few last month. No drama, no like arguments or fights, which actually I think I've only had one. I've only had to step in and try to play peacemaker one time in 18 shows. But there wasn't any drama. There wasn't like, any of this. There wasn't anybody, well, I guess I had two issues in the 18 shows. One with a dealer, both involved the dealer, but one was the dealer was at fault. The other one, I think the customer was trying to pull a fast one. But anyway, none of that. So it was an awesome show. So we got the crap out of the way. We got the negative out of the way. So let's talk about the good stuff. We've got John in the house, Rich, 608 Sports Cards packed yesterday. Had a great time. Glad you could make it out. Did I get to say hi? I don't think I got to say hi. There were a few people that commented. I'm like, I didn't even see them, but my face was buried in bargain boxes a quarter of the day. And I forgot my box of goodies is still upstairs. So I guess I won't show off what I pulled out of the dollar boxes. John, great reference, Smashing Pumpkins. I get down in the dumps when I reflect on all the Kerry Wood cards I have. Good morning, live from the couch again, Cooter. enjoying some coffee. I hope I didn't trip your trigger with coffee talk. Victor says, good morning, having some coffee on John Nolan Drive. Had a great time. That is awesome. That is so cool. It was awesome to see Victor again, to see Zach and Porter again. We got to do a trade. I do have one regret. I have one regret. We didn't get a picture together. And I even thought about it when we ran into each other. I was coming downstairs, and I think Zach and Porter had just arrived. Victor was already at the hotel. We all ran into each other in the hallway outside the downstairs ballroom. And I thought about, we should get a picture now since we're out here. And then we just got to talking and totally forgot. We'll do it again. Next show that we all can be together, we'll get that picture. But we did a trade. Awesome stuff. Zach and Porter gave me some scorecards, and I told this story. I love scorecards only if they're scored. And usually when I'll find them at, sometimes I found, I bought one from like the 40s at a garage sale locally here in Madison. And the guy said, well, I'll give you a deal because it's been scored. And I looked, and if it's like a little kid, like, if I would have kept score when I was 8 years old, I had no idea what I was doing. It would have not been like legit. Like, then it's like, okay, I don't want this. But if it's like legit scored, like it's almost like a ticket stub for me in my eyes. Even more so, it's better because it shows like you don't have to go to Baseball Reference and look up the score and look up the box score. It's right there with like something that was from that game, just like a ticket stub. And you don't have to go on the internet to find out what happened in this game. Now, if you want to see a milestone, did Phil Cavarretta hit a home run in this game? Yeah, you'll have to go online. Well, actually, no, you don't. It's in the box score. But say if it was Phil Cavaretta's debut or 100th home run, then you have to go on the internet. But hey, Phil Cavarretta hit a home run in this game. It's there in the scorecard. So I do like, and so the scorecards that they gave me were scored. So I'm like, actually, I prefer these, kind of like my vintage baseball cards. I like a little beat. I like them to have a little character, which I'm wearing my SGC hat today because I've picked up, I now have in my possession the very first cards I have ever graded, I have ever submitted. But you're going to have to wait for the results in the video. So I think Matt and Masood from 5 Star will be at the Janesville Card Show next Sunday in Janesville, Wisconsin. So I think we're going to sit down and do a little collaboration, and we'll post the results of my very first submission to SGC. And I've shared that I have mixed emotions regarding the first grading submission. I was very happy with 1. I was happy with 2. And after like talking about it, I think I'm more than happy, like not very happy, but more than just happy with 2 of them. One of them was just kind of like, okay, I expected this could happen. And then one I was pretty disappointed. And I'll share all of that in a video next week. Let's see. Herman's in the house. Let's see. Can I get back up to the chat? Let's see. Henry is in the house. What's up, Henry? Dan, good morning. Herman says, I'm honestly dreading the start of Georgia's football season. I always watched and talked Georgia football with my uncle. He passed away back in the 1st of January. The last thing he said to me was, "Go Dogs." Yeah, that's just not to bring any. Hey, I started the melancholy. So no, I think we need to share. It can't all be flowers and rainbows all the time, right? I mean, I consider myself a realist, not with gearing toward what over on the positive optimism side as opposed to the pessimism side. But I mean, you have to be real, and I think it's important to acknowledge, when we're feeling down, when we're upset. I mean, I think it's important to get those feelings out in whichever healthy way possible. It's different for everybody, but to talk it out. I used to be afraid to talk it out because where I grew up, it was like, oh, you've got to be a man's man, and oh, we've got to, men get their hands dirty and work hard. And then, as I grew up and realized, no, that's pretty simple minded. That's pretty close minded. And it's smart to not be that. So I think it's important. And I don't think, I don't think it does bring anybody down. It's who we are. Victor's like, oh my God, the picture. I know, the freaking picture. You were making the video. Ah, yes. I did run into Abraham and Lauren when I was making the video. So little cameo. Randy, shout out to Randy. I didn't know that was Randy. He was at the 5-star booth. I had like 4 people ask me, hey, where's the dollar boxes you always talk about? And I'm like, now it's to the point where it's like, oh man, do I want to keep sharing? So Matt and Masood, you owe me some promotion fees for all the business you're getting in those dollar boxes. But hey, I took full advantage of those dollar boxes yesterday. In fact, the last hour of the show, I was digging through those dollar boxes. Herman meant to get a picture with Val yesterday. Herman was at a card show down in South Carolina, in Spartanburg. This is the picture Bo took yesterday with his camera. I don't even want to click that link. Phil Cavaretta signed a card for me 20 years ago. Phil was a great TTM signer. In fact, I have right behind the camera on the opposite wall of the ball wall, I have a 4x6 of black and white 4x6 photo of Phil Cavaretta that he autographed. And I think he even put MVP. He did the inscription. But he was a great TTMer. Let's see. John says SGC just does things correctly from top to bottom. Totally agree. I am 100% number one SGC. And it starts with just the look of their slabs. I prefer, eye appeal is important. Obviously, accuracy, speed, price all goes into that, and SGC checks all those boxes. But number one, when it comes down to it, if I'm, I've said I'll pay a premium over an SGC, a lower grade SGC than a PSA when it comes to pre-war, because the PSA, the vintage, the pre-war, like the tobacco cards in a PSA slab just look ugly to me. So I will pay a premium over a lower grade SGC than I will PSA. And I'm not talking just like a half point or a one, like, I'll pay more for a 1 than a PSA 3 because it's for my collection. I'm not looking to flip it, and I'm not looking to make money off it. It's just, I want to display it or look at it. And if I look at a PSA, the first thing I think is, why in the hell did I buy this? Because it's an ugly slab. So I don't even buy PSA, even if it's a good price. I stay away from it just because I want that uniformity in SGC. Dan says, good morning. I get to visit my childhood collection of 400,000 cards tonight. It will be fun. That sounds like a blast. Hopefully you'll do a video. I want to see a video on that, or at least some type of video. Herman says, Bo has dangled those grades like a carrot for the last 2 weeks. I have. And it's because it's my very first time. I am no longer a grading virgin, and Matt from 5-star messaged me, and he's like, hey, your grades are in, and he posted pictures, and I'm like, oh, cool. And I'm like, I got to do a video, but I want to have them in hand. So that was like 2 weeks ago. So I didn't have them in hand until yesterday. And then it was like the very end of the show. And Matt's like, hey, we forgot to do the video. And I'm like, oh, crap. I'm like, let's just wait till Janesville. Let's wait another week. Let's wait another week. Victor says the only complaint I had yesterday was that I couldn't get a beer at the hotel lobby last night. Super packed. Apparently, some comedian performing across the street, Jay Hart. Interesting. It was pretty busy. The hotel was pretty busy. I know there was a wedding, but it wasn't at the hotel. The wedding party must have been staying at the Sheraton. I wonder who the comedian was playing across the street. Jay Hart. I'm not sure. Yeah, across the street. So it must have been a famous one because across the street is the Alliant Energy Center, and it's a big venue. And that's where there's a. Was it Kevin? Was it Kevin Hart? Did he? Because I can't remember if Kevin Hart was performing. But that sucks that you couldn't. Hotel beers are I enjoy a good hotel beer, especially like after a card show. Come on. Especially what the heck's going on? Oh, I'm clicking the wrong button. Especially after a long day at the card show on your feet all day, just have a beer. I came home and so yeah, I've been talking about ripping those Bowman U football blasters, and hey, guess what? I didn't watch a second of college football yesterday. And here I am, excited. Oh, August 27th, after the card show, I'm going to go home. I'm going to watch college football, even though they're crappy games. Guess what? I came home. I'm pretty tired. Talked to my wife. I ate because I didn't eat. It was 4:30 when I got home and realized I haven't had anything to eat. I haven't had a single thing to eat since 6 a.m. when I was at the Dunkin' drive-thru. And then all of a sudden it's like you don't realize you're hungry. And then the moment you realize you're hungry, you're like starving to death. It's like almost from like, oh, I'm not, oh, I haven't eaten all day. Oh crap, now I'm starving. So we had Chinese on Taegu, downtown Middleton. Fantastic homemade noodles. I had the sesame chicken on Friday night, but my wife orders their noodles, and I enjoy the noodles the day after more than the sesame chicken. So I had the noodles as soon as I got home, and then I had stopped at the liquor store, got some. It was what's Dove Point Lager. I'm not sure where that brewery is, but it's good. I had it at a local bar somewhere this summer. So I had one of those, poured it in a glass, and it was just like in the recliner, the beer, going through my dollar cards, checking all the social media sites, and it was good. And then it's like, I probably should go downstairs and rip some Bowman U and watch some college football. And it got to be about 8:00, and I was starting to if I don't get up and do something, I'm going to fall asleep. So I came downstairs, I grabbed 2 blasters of Bowman U, and I was going to turn on a game. And then the Bears game was on, the Bears and Browns. So I'm like, oh, I don't want to watch a crappy college football game when the Bears are on, even though it's a crappy NFL team, 2 crappy NFL teams. So I watched the end of the Bears game, ripped 2 Bowman U blasters, nothing to write home about. There was a Sam Howell refractor, Malik Cunningham refractor. That's it. No autos. I had a good run. Like the first 6 blasters I opened, 0 autos. Then I opened 6 blasters and probably pulled 4 autos. And then now the last 6 or 8 blasters I've ripped, no autos. So yes, so I only opened 2 Bowman U blasters, but next week is like week 1. Like this was week 0. Next week is week 1. That's when the big football games are going to be on. The better teams. It's not going to be highlighted by a Big Ten game in Ireland or Wyoming versus Illinois, which that's a game that I would have enjoyed watching just because it's Illinois, even though I'm not a Illini fan, but at least I'm familiar. John says, death happens with life. I was with high school friends I haven't seen since the 80s last night. A lot of friends have passed, and we had a good laugh remembering them. Absolutely. And, that's, immediately after death, there's that mourning phase, but then you realize all the fun times you had. You look back and, you can laugh and have a good time. Don't dwell on those that are gone. Celebrate and laugh. I lost both parents at a young age, so I speak from experience. Click it. PG rated. What's up, Mark Hoyle? Good morning. Rich says it's okay to remember everyone. We have a saying: a person dies twice. The first time when they leave this world, and the second time when the last person remembers them. I've never heard that. That is interesting. Let's see. Sharing is caring. Right. Absolutely. PSA keeps coming back up in the not so good news. I just reconnected with a bunch of old friends at one of our friends' funeral. I like the new Bo background and layout, but this does take away from the Bowman U versus John Nolan Drive contest. John Nolan Drive will now usually win in a runaway. Flawed Thinker, what is up? Just got my first CSG yesterday. Actually, people had said that CSG slabs, even the previous, now they have, I think, a new label. They used to be the ugly green. And when I saw that, it's like, oh my God, those are ugly. They're actually really nice when you hold them. And I heard that a few different people had said that they actually look nice in person when you hold them, as opposed to seeing pictures online. And I'm like, that's stupid. They look ugly. But my buddy Johnny, who co-promoted the show with me back in the early days, he had submitted a ton of stuff to SGC, and he had some Cubs. And so he gave me a deal on like 5 cut. There were like 3 Ernie Banks, like a couple 58s, maybe a 59, lower grade in CSG, and then some modern, like a Miguel Amaya color auto and something else. And I'm like, these actually do look nicer in person than what they do on the internet. So I'm curious what John's thoughts are, since he got his first CSG yesterday. Rich says, Mark, when one of our old Beckett teammates committed suicide, we came to his memorial service. I got to see many of old teammates for the first time in years. Cooter says, did Bo spray tan, or is it the mood lighting in the rec room? I was wondering that. It looks, and I've got like a glare. I can't see clearly on the screen. So I thought it was the computer screen, but it must be the lighting, because it does look different. Because even like it has a tint. There's a tint to this white sweatshirt. I don't know what that is. It's got to be. There's this light's like blinding me. So it's got to be like this overhead light right there. Victor says Kevin Hart. Oh, okay. Yeah, Kevin Hart. In fact, I just watched a movie Friday night. We watched a movie with Kevin Hart. Funny movie. And I'm not really a movie watcher, but I enjoyed it. Kevin Hart and who was in it with him? It's new on like Netflix. Kevin Hart and Mark Wahlberg. Kevin Hart and Mark Wahlberg. And it was called Me Time. Me Time? Was that what it's called? Funny movie. I enjoyed it. And I'm not much of a movie watcher. Let's see. Henry watched golf yesterday, and some of those guys were burnt. Ed, good morning to you. Cooter, he does have a pretty good tan for a basement dweller. Even for a couch people, I've got a good tan. Speaking of couch people, so I told my wife about the couch people reference. And she goes, you tell people we're couch people? I'm like, we are. Like, all of our friends know, like, we're not hiking. We're not active. I mean, I ride a bike, but it has a battery. It's an e-bike. I take the dog for a walk around the block, but we are couch people. And she's like, I can't believe you're telling people we're couch people. So, and she's like, and now you're going to tweet about that, aren't you? I don't think I did, but I did send a private message. Let's see. 608 says, got 2 Bowman mega boxes from a guy downstairs. Did a box battle with my girlfriend, and she ended up pulling an auto. Nice. That was Len. He sold out. He had like his, when I came around and did my rounds, he had like 4 boxes on the table. And he's like, yeah, I sold everything. And he's like, this is all I have left. And a guy came by, and he's like, I'll buy one more. And he offered him whatever money. And Len's like, Yeah, I'll take it. So I don't know. I don't know if Len's going to be back next month unless he has more inventory at home because he had an empty table when he left, which, hey, I guess that's good, right? Jenny is late. I'll have to rewatch. What is up? Welcome to the show. We haven't even really talked about the Madison Card Show yet. It must be the fear of Frank that has Bo getting lots of sun in the yard. I've got to keep up with Frank. Although I do need to mow. We got rain last night. It's cloudy now. So I don't know if it's going to rain today. I haven't looked outside to see if the rain gauge is in Frank's backyard. Let's see. What's the forecast today? I actually kind of want it to rain today because I've got a lot of shipping to do and I don't want to. It's going to rain this morning, but it looks like, it's going to rain this afternoon. So I'll mow tomorrow. It'll be another 2 or 3 to 1 for Frank in the mowing column. Zach and Porter playing catch up. CSG is gorgeous. Best slab for sure. More neutral label gets them closer to SGC. I do just from what I haven't seen the new label in person. But what I have seen online, it does, at least comparing online picture to online picture of CSG old versus new, the new label looks much, much better. And I just know from my experience, the old label looked better in person than it did in a photo online. So that's good to know. John says, Marky Mark wife watched it, enjoyed it. Yeah, it was funny. It was one of those like just dumb comedies that you can just kind of watch and you don't have to think. You can grab your phone and look at Twitter and Facebook for a few minutes at a time and not really miss anything. That's what I like. I don't want to like be glued to a TV for 2 hours. So it was just a dumb comedy, but it was good. John says the bleach white shirt makes you look Southern European. I don't know how to take that. Dealer at the show yesterday had a ton of Bowman U hobby. Oh, really? I didn't see that. Oh, wait, that's Herman. The reason I didn't see that is because I wasn't in Spartanburg, South Carolina. I'm like, really? Where was that dealer at? I didn't see that. Now I know why, because I wasn't in South Carolina. Victor says, no rain. I'll be out this morning in Madison. It does look like, Victor, just looking at my typically unreliable weather app, 9 a.m., which is pretty 20 minutes away, 60% chance of rain at 9 a.m., 40% chance of rain at 10 a.m., but then it says no rain between 11 and 3, and then it's going to rain again at 3. So you might have a window of staying dry. Hopefully, fingers crossed. So the Madison Card Show yesterday, like I said at the beginning of this show, I went in kind of like nervous, anticipating who's going to no-show, late cancels. I only had one like day of cancel. I took a couple cancel. I think I only took one cancel on Friday. I had a couple cancels like earlier in the week. I was able to get those covered. The problem is, it's kind of a good problem, is that many people like on my waiting list are from several hours away. In fact, one dealer who set up at my very first show in April of 2021 reached out to me this week and he's like, hey, I set up at your first show. I want to come back. I'm like, it's going to look a lot different. I didn't have a spot for him. And then when I did on Friday, he's like, oh, I'm doing a show on Sunday down in like Tennessee. He's like, I'm 7 hours away. I can't make it on this short of notice. And it's, I didn't have a spot for him when he reached out earlier in the week. So that's a good and bad problem to have. It's a good problem because it means you're getting vendors and dealers in from a big area. But it's a bad problem when you have unreliable dealers that cancel on short notice. And even like local dealers, it's like if they reach out on Wednesday, like, hey, I'll take a table. Sorry, I don't have one. They're going to go to I'm going to make plans to go camping or to go to this show or that show. And then you reach out like Friday with the late cancels, the day before cancels. and like, oh, sorry, I made other plans. So that's the issue. That's why I have started taking prepayment from most first time dealers. If I don't know them, if I know them and we've built a rapport, I can trust them. But you never know. Sometimes and things happen. Things happen where car trouble happens. But if car trouble happens time and time again, or there's a new excuse every other month, and there's unreliability, then that becomes an issue. So fortunately, I didn't have too much of that this week. I was able to cover the week of cancels this past week. I was able to cover those. In fact, I went in Saturday morning, one table overbooked. Fortunately, they squeezed an extra table in the hallway, and it's like, oh, perfect. I'm no longer overbooked because that was missing 2 tables. And for some reason, dumb luck, I emailed my contact, and I emailed my contact, and I told one of the guys at the front desk, like, hey, I'm missing 3 tables upstairs, right at the land in the hallway. And I actually was only missing 2, but I had ended up overbooking with a late addition, so it worked out. But I had a dealer who's been fairly unreliable in the past, and it had gotten to the point where it's like I'm a little nervous putting him in his same spot, and gave him a chance. I'm like, hey man, where you at? Because he's always late, and now he's having car trouble. I'm gonna get there. And I had somebody at the beginning of if he would have texted me at 6 a.m., I could have covered those 2 tables. I had a guy who's been a dealer in the past says, I'm coming down, I'm bringing my stuff. So if you have 2 open tables, I'll take them. But by 9 a.m., the room's pretty full. He's like, nah, I'm just going to walk around. And so that puts me in a pinch. And it's not about the money. It's about 2 tables in the main room where there's people downstairs that have offered me double the table fee just to be in that upstairs ballroom. However, I will say, I overheard twice yesterday customers in the downstairs ballroom say, oh, there's rooms upstairs. There's tables upstairs also. Now in the past, that's always been said upstairs. Oh, there's tables downstairs because the show was always in the upstairs ballroom. So that's great. And there's signage everywhere. I promote 2 floors, but not everybody is going to see that, or it's just the way it is sometimes. So that was like the only issue I had, which it's a bummer, but it is what it is. And I think I need to be more. And I think another thing I need to collect more upfront, like in the morning, because by like noon, 1 o'clock, when some people are going to leave early, and I get sidetracked. I'm talking, and it's like I still have 30 people to collect money from, and it can be difficult. So just to make it easier on myself, so I'm not running up and down, all day. Let's see. Flawed Thinker says, discovered a new card shop to me from watching a YouTube podcast. I never would have known. That's awesome. That is very cool. Ken says, what's up, Ken? I must really like you. I'll have you know that I'm in the car and turned down We Didn't Start the Fire to listen here. There's not much YouTube content that I would turn off We Didn't Start the Fire. I'm going to let that baby play out. And then, so Ken, props to you. Thank you. That's an honor, because for me, I don't know if I would do that. I would be listening to Billy Joel. Let that play out, then watch the YouTube video. You have I will not be disappointed if you turn off right now and go back to Billy Joel. Victor says, do you have any card show dates that are on a UW game day? Unfortunately, yes. And the reason I say unfortunately is because in October, the Madison Card Show coincides with University of Wisconsin homecoming. So that's unfortunate because the traffic situation could be difficult. So I try to schedule, since I scheduled this year's dates almost a year in advance, over a year in advance in some cases. I avoided Wisconsin dates, but there were some that were unavoidable. And I think October was one of the months that they also changed the schedule, because when I looked, I'm like, they didn't have homecoming. Like, they didn't announce what weekend homecoming was going to be when they first released the football schedule. Wisconsin football schedule. But I do know October is the same day as homecoming. Let's see. September 24th is at Ohio State. October 22nd is homecoming against Purdue. It is a 2:30 game. So if you want to come out to the Madison Card Show in October, you can get down to the game in time. Leave the show a little early. I said it. Leave the show a little early. Go down and watch the Badgers take on the Purdue Boilermakers. Purdue, Wisconsin, homecoming, October 22nd, 2:30 kickoff, same day as the Madison Card Show. And it looks like the November show is an away game. Unfortunately for the November show, that's the same weekend as the Chicago Sports Spectacular. There was no way around that. So I'm going to lose probably at least 6 dealers to the Spectacular, which I get. It's a 2 or 3 day show. I'm going to get more traffic. So totally understand. Let's see. Ken, I have to listen to Bo on the road through the Wii. Nothing wrong with prepay. Surprised it's not more common. Yeah, it's, and I think it's like it seems like it's a regional thing. And I know John Newman up in New York said, everywhere up there that he knows of is prepay. Everywhere around here, it's like you pay at basically the end of the show. But the larger shows, it's a little more, difficult to do that. And, now 170 different dealers, it's time consuming to collect all that. Let's see. Cooter says you should get a prepay from everyone. Nothing personal, just business. In God we trust. Everyone else prepays. Low roller scratcher in the house, telling me what I need to list. Herman says Bo doesn't like variations. Yeah, come on, LRS. Low roller. I've said that many times. I don't do variations. I don't like it. I don't want to list hockey or soccer. So the card show started out, everything Probstein's show pays on eBay. Always thought that odd. That is odd. That's very odd. Although it's not too odd. Now that I think about it, that's not. Because I love doing everything through eBay because it makes, and that's just for reporting purposes. I think from a reporting, like on the surface, it does sound very odd. I even said it, like, that does sound odd. But now that I think through it, it does make a little sense because, when I post something on Twitter and somebody's like, I want to buy that card. And I'm like, it's in my eBay store. Here's the link. And then they'll send me a message like, hey, can we do this off eBay? You'll save some fees. And I don't do that because you're not supposed to. But for the main reason I don't do it is because I can track everything through eBay. And it makes life much easier, much like prepay card show money. It makes life a lot easier for me reporting it. Everything going through eBay. John says you order tables and showcases via eBay. I'm sure he has a deal with eBay to reduce their fees. A big seller like that, probably. But that is interesting. So yeah, 70 dealers, 125. I guess we were at 124 tables yesterday. Cooter says, hey, low roller, McDonald's doesn't sell tacos because it's not their thing, just like hockey and soccer. That's right. And speaking of that, I do want to show, and Victor just says strategy. I have a strategy also that I want to share. And back to Cooter's point about knowing your lane. there was one of the dealers, Brian from Appleton, came down. He's like, "Hey, I've got a bunch of stuff, bargain boxes, some higher end stuff, and I'll sell it in bulk." And I'm like, "Ooh, perfect! I'm excited. I'm gonna buy bulk." But it just wasn't. It wasn't in my lane. Like, it was baseball, it was football, there was some basketball and other stuff, but that's just not basketball, especially. Like, I just don't. There was actually two cases of bulk, two cases of potential bulk purchases, that it didn't fit what I do. And so I told Brian, I'm like, and I kind of explained, like, what I do is in Jeff T, who was set up along the wall across from Brian, has like dime boxes. And I go, kind of my thing is, there's a dealer that has dime boxes that I bought. He's like, yeah, fill a 4-row box for $50. And it was like all good. It wasn't like commons. It was a lot of junk wax era, but it was a lot of junk wax era Bo Jackson, Ken Griffey Jr., Frank Thomas, stars that I know I can sell on eBay for $1.50 free shipping. And when you do that in volume, say you sell 2,000 cards at a net profit of 40 cents. So what's say, and these are not sleeved, so they're like legit 3,000 plus cards. So say you sell half, say 50, let's just do 1,500, and I'm making 40 cents. That's $600 on a $50 investment. That's what I like to do. And I can list those now with Card Dealer Pro, fly through those listings. It's not like it's taken me an hour to list 30 cards and only making 40 cents. I can list 1,000 in a day, in half a day, really. So what he had was a lot of like $3 to $5 cards, $10 cards. And I'm like, man, it's just not, I don't know where, like, the price. And I went through and he had a price on the box. He's like, I'm negotiable on that price. But I'm looking through and I'm flipping through, and like a lot of it, I just, like, I don't know. Like, I know what I can sell for $1.50 to $5. I don't know what I can sell for a little more than that when it comes to volume. I know what I can, I take some chances on dollar boxes. So I know what I can, what I can sell from that. So did not buy any bulk with Brian. And then Matt Skaggs, who's been in the chat a few times in the past, he's like, hey, I've got some bulk, and he opened it up, and I'm like, is this all basketball? He's like, yeah, basketball and football. I'm like, man, I'm going to have to pass, because I just don't, like, basketball doesn't do well for me. I can move, and I told him, I'm like, I can move like no-name rookie cards in baseball, no problem. But I struggle, and I told him, I'm like, I had Darius Garland rookies, like rated rookies, for $2 or $2.50 in my eBay store, and it took forever to sell them. And he was like shocked, and he goes, I'm the opposite. I can't move baseball, but I move basketball all day long. And I think it's just because, like, most of my store is baseball. Most of his sales are basketball. He's a basketball guy, I'm a baseball guy, and I think it's all about that. So those were two bulks that I ended up turning down. There was another first-time dealer that had a 50-cent box, and had a 50-cent box, and I went through and I'm like, would you sell this? And he's like, oh, I didn't even think about that. And I'm like, well, I'm going to thumb through this, think of a price. And he came up with a price, and it was more than I, was willing. And I thought about throwing my offer, because I had a number in mind. I always do. I think he would have probably taken my offer. But as I thumbed through it, it's like, there was a lot of stuff that was it was a mix of stuff. I think I could have done okay, but it wasn't something that, I was really, I didn't think it was going to be a home run. But almost dropped my camera. But I'm not always looking for home runs. Base hits, score runs. So I think I got some base hits doing some picking, which will lead me into my next my next topic, going back to her or Victor. Victor says, I came to the show with a new strategy, added some soccer cards to the collection. I like that. And when Victor said strategy, it reminded me that I did want to touch on this. Victor, it's now raining on the west side of Madison. So John Nolan Drive may be getting some rain in the next few minutes, if not already. So my new strategy at bargain boxes, especially, okay, if you're at a table, if you're at a dealer, I mean, you want to maximize the cards that you can see in a bargain box before anyone else, right? You want to be the first. I mean, I've got some stiff competition when it comes to these bargain boxes. So I want to maximize how many cards I can see. So I've come up with a strategy, okay? I can't believe I never thought of this before. Say you're at a great bargain box table and you're in a box and it's pretty crowded, especially like if it comes to like a big show, like the Spectacular or the National. There's going to be multiple people like at a bargain box, especially at the good ones, like the Singles Club. So here's my strategy. It sounds genius to me in hindsight, but it's also kind of like, I consider this like the Dave Ramsey, where Dave Ramsey's this like, oh, he's this genius. But when you really think about it, everything he says is like common sense. It's like, duh. So here's my bargain box strategy. It's a duh, but I never thought about it until yesterday. Okay, here it is. Here goes. So I sit down, I take a side. Okay. I'm in a 4-row box. You got 1, 2, 3 rows left to right. 1, 2, 3, 4. I take a side. I kind of like strategize which side I'm going to take. So maybe I'll take the far left row. Okay. So I'll look through and I'll go fast and I'll dig through the left row. Now, typically what I do, and I think what everybody does, is they'll just go in order. They'll go, okay, left to right, right? That's the wrong way to do it. If you're up against some competition, here's what, because then if somebody wants to get in your box, they're like, have you gone through that row yet? Or are you looking in that row? No. So they'll come in. If you're over on the left side, you can fit 2 people per box, basically, standing up. They're going to go to that far right row. So you're kind of over here, you're going to get butted out, and they're going to look through cards that you haven't seen before. Here is my strategy. I go through that far left row. Once I finish that far left row, I scoot to the right and I go through the far right row. So then when somebody comes up and they're like, hey, can I look through this box? And you're like, yeah. And you point them in the direction of that far left row that you have already looked through. I'm 40 years old, and I never even thought of doing that. All these bargain boxes, all these years. And I bet everybody does this already, and I'm late to the game. So that's my bargain box strategy. Do the outside rows first, and then move into the inner rows. And that way, you don't have competition in the same box. So if you're the first to that box, far left, then go to the far right. And if somebody comes in, they're like, oh, hey, can I look through this box? Yeah, far left box, buddy. I've already got the good stuff. You get the second pickings. So that's my new strategy at the bargain boxes. John says soccer is my favorite sport to watch. I only have about 100 to 200 soccer cards. Oh, John, would you like some soccer cards? John, if you would like some soccer cards, I would happily give away some soccer cards. Low Roller says, since most of your pick your card variations sold out, all you have to do is add numbers to pick in a variation. I love to watch hockey, but just can't get into the cards like I want. I know zero about soccer, so guess how many soccer cards I have. Cooter says, to quote Ron Swanson, it is better to whole ass one thing than half ass two. In other words, know your lane and stay in it. Absolutely. Let's see. Mark says, I've been to many a card show and left empty handed. M. Russo had a show yesterday in Woburn, Massachusetts. Did I pronounce that? Is it Woburn or Woburn? In Massachusetts. Soccer was flying out of my 50 Buy It Now Finest Chrome Commons and my lower end singles. You know, I have seen an uptick in my eBay store with the very few soccer cards I have. I have seen an uptick in soccer sales over the last couple of weeks. So my next show that I'll be set up is in Janesville next week. I had people like clamoring for soccer a year ago and maybe even up to 6-8 months ago. And then within the last few months, like nothing, crickets, soccer boxes go unsearched as I keep adding. And there's probably good stuff in there because I just don't know what I'm looking for. Mark says, Bo, I would list some lacrosse and water polo, both up and coming. That's a good point. If someone's in a box, then they have dibs. My opinion is you have to wait for them to finish. That's kind of tough though, especially if there's like multiple people and only a couple boxes. I'm okay letting people in a box. Yeah, I think everybody has their own like etiquette. I'm seeing your next. I've run into this in the past. 72 Tops etiquette. Let's see. Cooter says always start at the back as well, as people will typically thumb from the front and quit if they don't see anything that has been heavily shopped. That is also a good. I found some good stuff in the back, and also. I know there were a couple guys that are ignore the baseball, but dig through those football dollar boxes. And I found the three like 70s football cards I found: Bob Greasy, 70 Tops Bob Greasy, a 72 Johnny Unitas, and a 71 Tops Game Joe Namath. Those were like random in a baseball box. That's why I also looked through the football boxes. And towards the end of the show, I was digging through some of the football and basketball just to see if there might have been some hidden gems hidden within the other sports. Let's see. But yeah, I've also noticed, Cooter, with some of the dollar boxes of dealers that I shop at frequently, that they'll put in, and I'm guilty of this as well with my own bargain boxes. I'll put the new cards either in the front or back of the rows. They're not like stuffed in the middle. So it's like if I start going through, maybe I'll pull out of the middle and it's like, oh, I've seen these before, but then I pull from the back and it's like, oh, this small stack is new from last month. These cards weren't here last month. Let's see. Ken says too many soccer mentions in today's stream. Time to go mow the lawn. And Ken, as you mow the lawn, turn on We Didn't Start the Fire, since I made you miss out on one of the greatest songs of all time. John says no MLS cards, please. Don't like minor league soccer. I don't even know what is that Major League Soccer? Is that different from, like, I've got cards that I have no idea, like Bundesliga. Like, I don't even know what that is. What else is there? There's like American teams. There's European teams. It all just goes in the same box. It's all soccer. It's kind of like baseball. Sometimes my minor league baseball cards are mixed in with my Major League Baseball cards. Woburn. Oh, wow. Woburn. I was way off. Let's see. Victor says, hey, soccer is cool. I'll take any soccer cards except MLS. Nobody wants MLS. Okay, so Victor and John have dibs on my soccer. Let's see. Low Roller Scratcher. He's going to be my new eBay lister. Is the Bumbo League a good one? 608 says, I did buy a lacrosse card yesterday. Interesting. Let's see. All but one of Bo's viewers don't give a damn whether he lists hockey or soccer. Let's see. John says American soccer blows is what I'm saying. MLS is a level or two below the European leagues. Bundes is German. La Ligue, Spain. Serie A, Italy. I did buy some. So I have only chosen to buy soccer cards probably one time. That was when I was in Italy, and I think they were just crappy, like the stickers. They come in like kits, but it's like I want to buy cards in Italy, and I didn't find any until I got to it was probably Rome, and I bought some. I think I might have a couple packs. I traded some away because I bought like maybe 8 or 10 packs. I may have 1 or 2 left. I don't know. But I bought a magazine. I bought a program just because I'm a hoarder and they don't have baseball cards in Italy. Let's see. Ken says, as long as I still have dibs on the racing, you bet. Let's see. Rich says, as long as I can get 1988 Max or 1972 STP and any pre-war racing, you can have the rest. Speaking of racing, what's funny is like all of the Goodwill pallets, there's like a ton of racing cards, and it's like it's Ken's dream and it's my nightmare. And it's like, oh my God, another binder of racing of NASCAR. And it's like 90. What was like the most overproduced rate? Was it like 91 Max? Like it seems like every Goodwill pallet has 1 or 2 binders. And Matt from 5 Star, when I was digging through the box, he had somebody drop off for like consignment, and he opened up a binder and it's like 91 Max. And I'm like, oh my God, it's haunting me. Okay. That is 91 Max is the epitome of junk wax era. Yes. It's, oh my gosh, it's everywhere. It's in every collection I've picked up, 91 Max. So there was some awesome stuff. I would show off my dollar box finds, but they're upstairs and I'm kind of stuck in here. But I found some good stuff. I did a lot of shopping. I did more shopping yesterday at my show than what I typically do. But I shopped out of 3, Matt from 5 Star. I did most of my shopping out of his dollar boxes. Nick, I picked up 6 cards from him. And then at the very end of the show, Kyle, and this is what's cool about the Matt, what I have enjoyed about the show is, the life conversations, not just about cards, but Kyle, was a basketball coach, and, he shout out to Kyle. He gave me a great deal. I pulled out 12 cards and he had a 12 for 10 deal. And I'm like, he's like, oh no, just 5. And I'm like, oh, sweet. He's like, yeah, I listen. And he's like, you talk about Western Illinois. And he goes, I think we know a couple of the same people. And he was I think he was either a grad student or a student or coach with one of the coaches that I worked with at Western. I'm like, oh my God, we were talking about Coach Wolfie. And then Damon James. And I was able to have lunch with Coach James a couple of years after I moved to Wisconsin. I was doing IHSA in Peoria basketball, and he was recruiting. And during the break, it's like, hey, you want to go have lunch? Great guys. And it's like we, ran in the same circles knowing each other in the hobby. And that's, super cool. Getting to know the dealers, the customers. And it's like, I see the same customers and, get to talk to them. And it's really cool. I've really enjoyed it. What else? So those are the dollar boxes I shopped out of. What else there was some cool stuff. Rodney had an 81 Topps football box from a sealed case, in like I've never seen like a box basically slabbed. It's not like the hard, like what you think of a slab for a baseball card, but it's more of like a engineered plastic. I should know. I worked with a lot of companies that did this, like vacuum sealed plastic. There's a name for it. Extrusions. Anyway, so let's see. I had 5 dealers who did my very first show. John came back. John was a dealer who he's got a lot of cool stuff. And I don't know if I tweeted photos of these, but he had the very first Sports Illustrated issue with the cards. He also had like and it was Beckett slabbed. It was like a binder sheet from like a pre-production Packers from like the 60s. I'd never seen that before. So John set up at my very first show in April. And then he set up again in June, and he didn't make a single sale at either show. And he's like, but I had a lot of fun, but I can't set up and not make a sale every month. But he's like, hey, and he comes to every show. He still comes, and he's like, I can't believe how much this has grown. He's like, hey, can you get me in? I'll just, come sit up. He did make a sale yesterday. But it was good to have him back. And I ran another guy who did my very first show and only did the first show. He was there, and I saw him for the first time since April. And he's like, oh my God, because he was there when there was 15 tables in this 5,500 square foot ballroom. Now it's jam packed. And he's like, and so he's going to set up next month. So it's awesome to have him back. So got to see some old faces. My buddy Steve. So you may have seen the blog that I wrote a couple years ago. I bought, like, it was the best Craigslist buy, best collection I've ever bought. And Steve was local here, is local here, and he had like $900 for his collection, and he didn't really advertise much on the Craigslist ad. So I like hemmed and hawed, and I reached out, and I sent an email, and I'm like, okay, it was a Sunday. I'll go take a look. We go downstairs. He's got a room in his basement, and it's just filled, and he's got tables just filled with stuff. And then he opens a closet door, and it's filled with stuff. And he's got some autographed baseballs from like the Quad City Cubs in the early 80s, Sean Dunston as like a 19-year-old kid. And I'm like, that made it worth it for me. And normally when I go in, it's like, he wants 900. Well, you take 500. And we do, even though I hate negotiating, you do the dance. I'm like, so what's for sale here? And he's like, everything for 900. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I want it. I'm like, I'll come back on Wednesday with cash. And so him and I think his son, kids hauled it upstairs, and I came by and picked it up. And it was like and he was showing me, he's like, yeah, this is a program from the first Badger game that my dad took me to in the 70s. And I'm like, do you want to keep it? Like, do you want to keep some of this stuff? And he's like, nope, I just want it gone. And then I think he came back into the hobby during the pandemic, because this was I bought that collection probably in 20. I was doing the Cubs. I was already doing the Cubs project. So this would have been 2018. So then in 2020, like during the pandemic, he got back into it, and he reached out and he's like, hey, I got the bug. And he's like, I bought a bunch of stuff. He's like, I pulled like some of the big stuff. So now I've got a bunch of just bulk. And so I'm like, yeah, I'll take it. So I went back over. We text every once in a while. I was at the Cubs game 2 weeks ago, the Friday game, but I didn't go to the Saturday game. It was Nick Madrigal bobblehead day. And I had thought about, like, man, I should just stay and go to Saturday's game so I can get the bobblehead. And I'm like, no, I'm going to 2 games, the following weekend. So I'm going to skip it. So Steve reached out. He texted. He's like, hey, you going to the game tomorrow? And I'm like, no, I'm just the Friday game. My wife sneezed. So he sent me a text yesterday, and he's like, hey, I'm at the show. Where you at? And I'm like, I'm out at the 5-star, pretty much where I was at all day. I'm at the 5-star booth in the dollar boxes. And he's like, okay, I'm heading that way. I got something for you. Hands me a Nick Madrigal bobblehead. He goes, I was at the game. Me and my wife went. I've got mine. My wife doesn't need hers. So I knew the perfect person that would want it. So thank you, Steve. That was awesome. And it's going to, behind the camera, it'll be on the bobblehead shelf. So that was awesome. And that's what's cool. Like, we know it, we text each other, not like, just randomly here and there, but you build these relationships with people just out of like random Craigslist, like 2 strangers. A stranger inviting a stranger into his home to look at baseball cards, a stranger going into a stranger's home to look at baseball cards, and you develop this friendship, and you have that connection through cards, through the Cubs, and that's what's so cool about the hobby. And that's what I envisioned in the very beginning. What I wanted the Madison Card Show to become wasn't about like buying cards and trying to, make a quick buck selling cards or, making money at the show. It was about creating an experience that goes beyond just collecting cards, selling cards, buying cards, but those connections, like with Kyle in our previous, Tom, who's right next to Kyle. He's like, hey, great job marketing this. And then he tells me he's got his MBA in finance from Northwestern, his undergrad in marketing. And, he was a bigwig in the marketing world until he retired. And it's like, you get to know these people through pieces of cardboard. How cool is that? And that's what's fun. And that's what keeps me going. I think that's what keeps many people going. So my battery's going dead, so I'm going to have to wrap this up. Let's see. Where are we at? Ken says, but 91 Max has about a dozen Earnhardts in the set. And I think in the binder, one of the binders that I have, they've all been put, like, I'm looking through, I'm like, I can't believe there's not an Earnhardt in the set. But then there's holes. There's like empty slots. So I think people were picking the Earnhardts out. Jenny asked, do you think the Craigslist ad helped any? It might have. That's the thing where when I don't have a table set up, I don't really get to hear how people hear of the show. I set up as a dealer at this show, from the beginning last April through this past February. So the last March, April, May, June, July, August. So 6 months, 6 shows. I really haven't been able to grasp the type of response where it's coming from. Facebook's easier to track because I know exactly how many people it hits, how many people respond, like, hey, yeah, I'm going, tagging other people. Yeah, let's go. And all that. So Craigslist is a little different. But yeah, every place you can, the more the merrier when it comes. Jenny says, also, have you thought about printing some flyers for the October Midwest show and posting at your September Madison show? Yeah. Actually, we did that yesterday. So Mike came up and he had, that's what we utilized, one of the empty tables in the main room. We put advertising for not only the Midwest show, but next week's Janesville show, Tony's show in Oak Creek. He put his flyers out on the table. I put my Hobby Evolution cards out, the Madison Card Show business cards out. So utilized a table. So, even, and that's something that, a positive results from a negative, where I don't want to have empty tables, but it's perfect advertising for my other ventures, whether it's a YouTube channel or my eBay store or the Janesville show, the Midwest premiere coming up in October. So yeah, we actually did that. And, that's, if the same happens again next month, fingers crossed it doesn't, but typically it does. At least we have a quick backup plan to, create that space for, promoting other shows. Let's see. Zach says, Porter and I had a blast adding to TCDB right now. That's what, and I messaged some people last night that I'm going through my dollar box and I pull a lot of Cubs, especially like any serial numbered cards, I'll pull out. And it's like, man, I would love to. And I added like 4 or 5 serial numbered Hobby Baez cards. And it's like, man, I would love to come home after a Madison Card Show or any card show and log my Cubs into trading card database. I want to get to the point where I'm organized enough. Right now, I'm not organized enough to do that. But someday, soon, I will do that. Let's see. Herman says he need to get more He-Man packs. He would make more sells. Zach, I'm hoping you get those 5,000 cards for TCDB. It's all stuff for trade. Bo just revealed where his dollar boxes are. Let's see. Jenny, also, you should run StreamYard on all your morning shows and have your banner scrolling with future show dates. I know it. what I run into is I don't plan ahead enough, and I need to plan ahead more. That's the simple solution. And then putting it into practice is, for me, difficult when it comes to StreamYard. This live stream has developed quality connections for several of us. Yeah, absolutely. And it's like it's our own, community, and new people come on, and I encourage that. It's a lot of fun just to. I mean, I don't have many connections throughout the day on an average day because I'm in the card dungeon shipping cards. I'm upstairs listing cards. So this is kind of like, it's kind of like water cooler talk, right? At the office. Like I can talk, we can, you can chat, we can share. It's a lot of fun. Ed says, great job growing the show. Have a great day. Thank you, Ed. And Victor says it's pouring crazy now. Let's see. I think it's stopped here. So you might have a window. Let's see. John says, you just reminded me I have to send a bobblehead out. Too cheap to buy a mesh network in the card room or an extra charger for the rec room. Come on, man. Right? I know. Actually, it's not. My computer's not plugged in. Let's see. Did I sell some more WWE magazine cards? Zach says Vic gifted Porter a Jackie Robinson Apple poster in a frame. It is unreal. Very cool. Very cool. That is awesome. That's what it's all about. So, a very successful Madison Card Show. Very happy with the day. Everybody I saw left with a smile. That's good. My next show, I'll be set up Sunday, a week from today, next Sunday, the day before Labor Day. Can't believe it's Labor Day already. Next Sunday, Janesville, Wisconsin, I'll have my 25-cent boxes. Fill a box for $20. I'll have some good stuff in there. So that's next Sunday. And then the following Saturday, September 10th, I'll be set up in Rockford at the Rock Church at the Northern Illinois Card Show, Saturday, September 10th. And then the Midwest premiere, 250 tables. That'll be in Loves Park, Illinois, which is just outside of Rockford. That is the weekend of October 15th and 16th, 250 tables for the Midwest premiere. So going to be a busy start to the fall. Tracy says, thanks for the Sunday show. Going to have to find the episode again of how you are posting now using the new software and site. I have not. I think I did go through. There's an episode where I was on StreamYard and I kind of showed, and it was actually me. It was kind of a crash course for me. It was one of the first times. Now I've got it fairly smoothed out. So I do want to do a video at some point. It's kind of, videos are tough for me because I'm not very good with video. So just trying to make the time, not find the time. I have the time. I just need to make the time to do a video. Zach says Porter pulled the 1993 Ultra Michael Strahan rookie from the dime box. 20. Whoa, nice. That is awesome. Love it. Love it. So maybe I'll do a video on my dollar box find since I didn't have them down here today. So maybe I'll do that tonight. So I've got to do some shipping, got to plug my computer in. Victor and Zach and Porter, Cody, who else was, I know Randy was there. Anybody else? Thanks for coming out to the Madison Card Show. It was a great one. Next one is September 24th. So that's the next Madison Card Show. Hope to see you there. Have a great Sunday. Back at it tomorrow morning for Hobby Evolution, 7 a.m. Central, Monday morning tomorrow. So we'll see you then.